Welcome, friends, to another Wolff Responds. I want to talk to you about the war, or the peace, or the war becoming a peace, or the peace becoming a war, depending on which side of the bed Mr. Trump gets out of on any particular day. No, I know we've all been amazed at the up and down, going around this way and that way, but we shouldn't be. What we should be doing is trying to understand the longer range. So I'm going to call this thing War and Peace, Inconvenient Truths. Here's the context of what's going on. Europe used to be the center of the world's activity, at least in its own mind. There was the spectacular Renaissance after 1,000 years of feudalism, what we call the Dark Ages. Then the light came in and Europe took off. It not only rebirthed itself, but it industrialized, the first part of the world to really do that on a massive scale. Started in England and then spread to the whole world. And as part of the explosion of the power and the wealth of Europe, they took over the whole world. They colonized it. They subordinated Asia, Africa, Latin America to the control of the European countries. Little countries like Britain or Belgium or France or Germany took over whole continents in the rest of the world, or at least they did so in their own mind. But the last 150 years, the ones of our time, have been characterized by an enormous backlash, an enormous refusal to continue the colonial organization of our planet and to replace it with anti-colonialism. One by one, starting with the United States itself, broke away from the old empires, refusing to continue to be subordinated, junior, very junior partners. That's what we've been doing for the last century and a half, ending colonialism. One country after another until there are almost no colonies left. Now we can begin to see how this is the context for Mr. Herky-Jerky President, war and peace, one right after the other. One of the only places today where colonialism is alive, where it is growing and trying very hard to spread rather than shrinking and disappearing, is Israel. Israel is a paradigm case of settler colonialism. A bunch of people from Europe decide to settle in an area that isn't in Europe. The way people settled the United States, or South Africa, or New Zealand, or Australia, and I could go on. Settler colonialism is what it is. And that's what Israel is. So right off the bat, Israel is an attempt to do something against the overwhelming direction of human history for the last century and a half, which is to end colonialism, to give these parts of the world back to the people who were subordinated by the Europeans. And in Israel, that would be the Palestinians. Israel, however, doesn't want that. No surprise there. Israel wants to stay. Israel wants to grow. And Israel, therefore, proceeded to do two crucial things in its history, neither of which it had to do, but it chose to do so. Not everybody agreed, but it was what the majority seemed to want. Number one, decide that to protect itself, its best option was to go military. Terrorize the countries around, bomb, kill the Palestinians when they got in the way, the Lebanese if they did, and so on. The second thing they did was hitch their survival to the biggest, most powerful military in the world, that of the United States. So that's what we have. We have a project to enhance settler colonialism against the flow of history, and to do so with an emphasis on military activity backed up by the United States. And for many years, half a century, this succeeded. But like all other efforts to sustain this kind of a project, this one reached its limits. It's understandable that the Israelis do what they do in Gaza. It's not moral. It's not decent. It is what it is. But you have to kill everybody to make that kind of plan work. We did that in the United States. We did that in Australia, or nearly so. Israel is sadly not in a position to do that, because the people it's doing it to are Arabs, and they have their Arabic brothers and sisters in many countries all around Israel. That's a problem. And they are part of the larger Muslim world, and that's an even bigger problem. For a while, they could do it. For a while, they had the Arab countries so afraid of the military might of Israel, and by implication, the risk of angering the patron state of the United States, that they could not summon neither the military strength nor the unity of the Arab community or the Muslim community to do what had to be done to end settler colonialism. They didn't do it. They couldn't do it. Oh, they tried here and there, but they were defeated. And the Israelis began to get an outsized view of their own capacity. We'll come back to that in a moment. But you know, sooner or later, the sheer magnitude of the size of Israel, a country of maybe 12 or 14 million people, half of whom are European Jewish people who moved there, and the other half are the Palestinians who are still there and haven't gone to other Arabic countries, which many have. But that's a very small country. It could fight well against Lebanon, that's a small country. Syria, that's another small country. Even Egypt, which is bigger, but very poor. But sooner or later, it risked bumping up against a big country, a powerful country, perhaps a non-Arabic country that wasn't caught up in the long list of failures of the Arab nations to act in concert to deal with Israel. And that's what now has happened. The Israelis decided that the best way to get the United States involved more closely with them, to give them more protection, would be by attacking an enemy of the United States, Iran, and hopefully managing it such that the United States would come in to backstop Israel in Iran. And that's more or less what happened. Israel attacked Iran a couple of weeks ago and did so in a forceful way. Iran responded. That didn't go the way Israel wanted, so Israel upped the ante, attacked more, got the whole world anxious about nuclear weapons. And so we had the decision by Mr. Trump to support the Israelis by dropping bombs on the 3 nuclear areas inside Iran that they knew of. But history isn't turned around by any such a thing. History has its own momentum, and not the United States and not Israel have anything like the power needed to undo that. Iran simply presented itself, a country of 90 million people, is going to have a war with a country of 7 million European Jewish displaced persons. Wow, that's not even close. And Iran has drones, and Iran has rockets. It's not the Palestinians who have none of it. Yeah, Hamas did its thing, but it was a one-day wonder. Very limited, very small, and the Israelis have killed 50 Palestinians for every Israeli that was killed back in October of 2023. When is vengeance enough? Iran is not Palestine. Iran can fight. Iran has the people, the resources, and is a huge country geographically. It can hide, and it has. It can put away its nuclear where you can't find them, which it did. That's why that bombing could not achieve what it set out to do. According to the International Atomic Energy Administration, the refined, enriched uranium had been moved out of Iran in all likelihood before the airplanes ever got there. And the great Israeli defense, the Iron Dome, well, let's see. Tel Aviv is burning. The Israelis could not block the Iranians from doing large damage. And the American naval fleet in the Eastern Mediterranean couldn't do it either. If you take a longer look at a war of attrition, you know, the kind of war we see in Ukraine, it's going to be Iran be the likely winner of that, whatever a victory might look like. And any sober estimate that isn't overwhelmed by patriotic excitement, where you substitute the wish for the reality, knows what I've just said. Yes, Mr. Trump has to try now, having failed in the military effort, which they could see in the very day or two. They better backpedal and get out of there, because they are, as they are in the Ukraine, on a losing side. Even more than the Ukraine, this is history teaching us what it means when you have centuries of anti-colonialism on your side. Iran has all of that. And what that means today, and no one should forget it, is that Iran has Russia, and Iran has China, and Iran has the BRICS. And are you going to take them all on? Not only will that mean that Mr. Trump can kiss the Nobel Peace Prize goodbye, it means that if you don't sit down and work something out with the people you declare to be your enemy, you are going to either destroy the whole world or lose a long, bloody battle. And why in the world would you choose either of those? You see herky-jerky behavior by Mr. Trump, bomb him one day, propose peace the next day, demand a ceasefire, get angry at the people who don't observe the ceasefire. Stop. This is the herky-jerky symptom of people trying to go against history and discovering that they cannot do it. Sit down, Mr. Trump. Work it out with Mr. Putin and Xi Jinping and the other major players in the world. Stop imagining you can hold back the process of a historical transformation that you ought to hark back to as the noble beginning of the United States, rather than dishonoring by changing sides to hold back in the rest of the world what those American colonists did in 1776. If interventions like this strike you as useful, please share this video with others, friends, neighbors, co-workers. And of course, you know that they cost money. And if you can contribute, we are a voice for peace, for a peaceful resolution of differences, not a war that kills and maims and embitters for decades. People who have to learn sooner or later to live together. Join us. It's worth it. Thank you.